In this episode, I speak to Caroline Dowd-Higgins about striking a balance between professional success and life fulfillment. We tackle the question, is it morally corrupt not to work to death? Along with 7 key takeaways, we discuss small steps that can be taken to improve a work-life balance and the need for achievement intelligence. I create clear-thinking and decisive leaders who can amplify their influence. Contact me to find out how I can help you or your organisation. And today our guest is Caroline Dowd-Higgins. How are you doing, Caroline?
I'm well, Judith. It's so good to be with you.
It's good to have you here. Caroline, let me think. I need a question for you. What is, in your opinion, the most ridiculous dance you've ever seen?
Oh, the most ridiculous dance. That's fabulous. Well, in the United States, there are football players, not soccer players, American football players do a dance when they hit a goal in the end zone. And it is pretty comical to see them do that victory dance. While I celebrate the wins, it does give me a chuckle.
Brilliant. Caroline, tell us a bit more about you.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Judith, I've been in the executive coaching and speaking and talent development space for over 20 years. I've worked with organizations for many years in leadership roles and broke off in 2022 as a result of the pandemic journey out on my own. So now I'm in my own business and loving life and really made some choices that honor the strengths that I have and the values that I have. So I am in a happy, happy place, empowering people to be successful in life and career and enjoy their careers while also loving their lives.
Brilliant. So you decided to do this during the pandemic, did you say?
Yes, I had always had what we call in the States a side hustle. So I had a part-time business that I did along with my full-time jobs with organizations. And the pandemic, Judith, gave me time to really reflect and think on my values and what was misaligned. And as a coach, I still work with a coach because I believe in that powerful experience. And I realized that my heart was in the coaching and the training and the public speaking and the writing. So I took the brave leap of faith and became a full-time entrepreneur at the end of 2022. And it's been a marvelous journey so far.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. All right, then. So let's get to it. Now, I am so fascinated about today's subject, which is how to strike a balance between professional success and life fulfillment. And I'm interested in that because often when someone says life fulfillment, many executives kind of switch off, thinking it's a bit woo-woo and it's just not applicable to anything. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'm so glad we're tackling this very important topic. And I'll admit to this global audience, I was one of those executives. I was so fully focused on my career that I was missing my life. And I heard a phrase the other day, Judith, that I want to share with you. We can focus on our resume virtues or our eulogy virtues. And I don't want to be morbid thinking about when we'll pass, when we'll die, but the reality is often people are so focused about their work success and their work legacy that they miss their vibrant lives. They miss relationships, they miss playfulness, they miss doing things that are fun and stimulating beyond the work environment. And in the United States, workaholism is very, very prevalent. And I was absolutely a workaholic. And I had to have a reality check and look myself in the mirror and say, I don't want to miss my life because I'm pouring so much into my career.
It's a good point. And I think there's so many things in that, because I think we've got to a situation where we think it's a moral issue to work ourselves to death. So if you're not working hard and not working well, but working to death, then you're morally corrupt.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me because there has become a badge of honor with people
Mm.
that are working around the clock. And we are celebrated for being exhausted and burning the candle at both ends. And the truth is, 80% of the world, and that's not a statistic that I made up, that came from a global talent survey done by Mercer. 80% of the world is burned out right now. That number is horrifying to me. And the truth is, organizations celebrate the workhorse that works around the clock and sacrifices everything for their job. So I believe we need to have a culture shift. And I also believe it will truly help people live healthier lives.
Mm. It'd be interesting to see. I don't know if it's interesting or the word scary or fascinating to see how AI is going to impact on that fascination to working yourself to death.
Oh my gosh, what a great topic. So let me go there, my friend. I agree with you wholeheartedly. So we know that AI has been created to help us be more efficient in the workplace. And there's no doubt that the whole premise is that it will help us with clear business wins, to be more efficient. But the truth is, burnout and exhaustion and overwhelm leads to depression, anxiety, and stress, and a revolving door of talent. So I've created a catchphrase, Judith, that I'm calling achievement intelligence. And I believe this is a new layer that we really need to consider along with artificial intelligence to honor the humans doing the work optimized by technology. Because, in a nutshell, what I fear is that we're going to be doing more work because AI will allow us to do more faster. And even though humans are not necessarily programming the artificial intelligence that is computer generated, it leads to more work. And I think that is dangerous. We keep raising the bar, and the goalpost is set so high that it's virtually unattainable.
Mm. Yeah, it's a bit like how the mobile phone was to give us freedom, and for a while it gave us freedom until we figured out how to get emails and things like that on it. Um,
Yeah.
then we lost when it was just a phone, it was quite nice to be able to do that. And then I remember when you finally got email and stuff on the phone, it was great to be, oh look, I can go shopping and catch up on my emails. That's really great. And then it was like, oh, you didn't reply to that email 1 minute after I sent it. What on earth are you doing?
Exactly. So I think humans have become Pavlovian. When the dog hears the ding, he wants to eat. And I think that instinct has happened with humans. We hear the ping of the email or the ding of a social media message that comes in, and our hearts race, our pulse accelerates. And the truth is, we are so tethered to our technology, it's rare that we put it to bed. Often people sleep with their phone next to their bed. Admittedly, it's charging, but you hear that ding in the middle of the night, and I think it's incredibly dangerous. Technology should empower us, not weigh us down.
Mm. Although I must admit, I tend to go to sleep listening to an audible book.
Ah,
However, however, the phone has like a sleep function on it so that I don't get any notifications
good.
after I don't know 8 or whatever it is at night. So I don't hear the work stuff because I think we can, if we put our minds to it, we can control the technology
Yeah,
if we are doing fulfilling work. I think if
exactly.
we're not doing fulfilling work, then the technology becomes the work.
Very well said. And cheers to you for putting your phone to bed, literally, and recharging it. But isn't it interesting, Judith, when we think about we religiously charge our technology, whether it's a laptop or a phone, every day, because goodness knows we couldn't survive without that energy. Yet we don't honor our own bodies with the same kind of recharge and reset and restorative time away from work. And I think we need to play more as humans because that can be energy creating. It can really unlock our fun and our creativity, and it empowers us to have healthier lives that help us do wonderfully well in our careers.
Because I know that when I'm mentoring somebody or, I don't know, doing training to exec teams, for example, and I say that, I ask the question, how many of you have scheduled time in your week to think? People look at me like I'm absolutely crazy.
Yep.
And I'm like, if all you're doing is going from meeting to meeting to meeting, when are you actually thinking about the thing that you need to achieve? Because if it's in the meeting, then it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. And I very intentionally, and I help my clients work on this, create focus time on my calendar. Sometimes I'll call it
Mhm.
creative time or think time based on what you just said. And you and I know that if we don't give ourselves that space between the meetings, one, when do you actually do the work? But two, you don't even remember what happened in the morning meeting by the end of the day when you've had 7 meetings later. Our brains need that space and that time to reflect and process and put these great ideas into action. So I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I remember seeing it was something called Facebook, but I think it's a well-known trope that says something along the lines of, you know, if you get run over by a bus, your company will have been advertising for your replacement the next day, whilst your family's still trying to come to terms, the next month.
Yeah, isn't that sad? You're absolutely right. And I think that revolving door of talent, which is still an issue throughout the world today, is a clear sign that something needs to change. And I think the onus is on the leadership, the top leadership of these organizations, to perhaps take what seems like a risk and invest more in the humans who are doing the work. Because at the end of the day, the human capital is the most important asset in every organization, big or small.
Mm. Let's listen to a quick advert.
The Maverick Paradox. Judith Germain is an author, speaker, consultant, mentor, and trainer, and the leading authority on Maverick leadership. She is the founder of the Maverick Paradox, which supports organizations to enhance their leadership capabilities and to help business owners develop and grow their businesses. Judith enables individuals, business owners, and organizations to improve their impact and influence. She is also HR Zone's leadership columnist, an international online radio host, and her expert opinion has appeared in national, international, and trade press.
Welcome back to the Maverick Paradox. This is the podcast for the pathologically curious. So if you're talking about how to strike a balance between professional success and life fulfillment, could you leap forward and wonder, in that middle space where a number of people are going to be displaced, and it won't necessarily be the usual, the low skilled workers. It's going to be more the skilled workers, going to be displaced through AI. How will those individuals find fulfillment if the work that they were doing is either not there or replaced? And the reason I'm thinking is that they did that research that said if you took your top performer and gave them AI, they got a bit better. But if you gave your poor performer AI, they got as good as the top performer. My skeptical nature would be the companies would sack the higher performer because they cost more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate your reality check there because there's no doubt we're all vulnerable because of AI. It's such a powerful technology that it can replace certain humans. However, I think it's important for us to be nimble and flexible. And
Yeah.
as someone who's gone through several career reinventions myself, I believe that we all have to be at the ready to think about what's next. This is happening around the world. We see downsizing, we see layoffs, we see technology impacting careers that previously were done exclusively by people. And I think it's an important time to be able to step back. And there are a couple of things to think about, actually, several. One, what's honoring my values? What do I need to be happy and fulfilled and gratified in life and career? Also, having the courage to try something different and reskilling or retooling, even at a leadership level, pivoting, if you will, and trying new opportunities. The days of being loyal to one organization are gone. People are changing careers very frequently, sometimes, Judith, out of necessity, and sometimes by choice. So to very simply answer your question, I think we need to be nimble and willing to adapt, because AI is one of the biggest technology disruptors, and it can be a great disruption or a very difficult disruption. And we've got to be at the ready to try new things.
Yeah, I do like that. I think I think a lot of people are assuming that the AI revolution is going to be much smaller than it is.
Mm.
And I think when you think it's literally just over a year that ChatGPT came on board, and the advancements that have been made in that short period of time will go to show this is not, you know, something like having the printing press, which is going to take some time to go through. This is going to be quick. But AI aside, because on the other hand, whilst we should recognize that AI is going to be a disruptor, is disrupting right now, it isn't everything. It's not everything. So how does somebody actually go about striking a balance then? Is there a methodology that you have?
Yeah, I think quite simply, we need to focus on our day to day and look at the moments that are truly engaging and enticing. And if you're burning the candle at both ends and stuck in that whirlwind of what I call the busy brag, where you're celebrating the overwork, yet you're unhappy, then you really need to take a look in the mirror and say, am I addicted to work? And I can say that from personal experience. I was. And think about it. We don't celebrate substance abuse, gambling abuse. Those are addictions. We try to help people break free of that and create healthier environments. But very rarely do we talk to people about how they are work addicted or are workaholics. We often celebrate that. And I think that has to be a real mental shift. And Judith, one of the most important things that I learned from my coach is, how are you spending your time doing things that bring you joy outside of work? So the workaholic, and again, I can relate to this, has clarity about work. So give yourself permission to think, what am I missing in my life? What are the relationships that I am not tending to and honoring? How am I celebrating my wellness, my play, and my well-being? So that's where I would start, taking a real close look in the mirror and being honest with yourself to figure out what's missing.
Mm, I like that. I'm thinking when you was talking that entrepreneurs and business owners, it's a bit different. So an employee goes to work in someone else's business, gets paid, hopefully not just for their labor, they're getting paid for their knowledge and their ability to make change. And then you've got the entrepreneur or the business owner who is, if they are not working, they are not earning.
Yeah.
How do they strike a balance then?
Yeah, thank you for asking a really poignant and important question, because I hear you. It might sound like a luxury to say, I'm going to take some time for myself. And the entrepreneur, and I am an entrepreneur, doesn't always have that ability. Let's also say there are people that are working around the clock. Maybe they're working 3 different jobs because they're trying to make ends meet and support their family. So I get it. There are hardship scenarios that are real and intense. I think part of it is thinking about, am I simply trading time for money? And I'm going to say that again. Are we trading time for money? And would your life be healthier? Would your life be better if you could get some of the time back to live and not work? But the reality that you shared is so true. I want to honor that. And even the busy entrepreneur, I think needs to think about the long game. And I would say it's a roller coaster. There are highs and there are lows. So plan for those moments where you can honor your well being, take time for yourself, think about how you can infuse play. Because if it's 24/7, go, 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 eventually you're going to fall and your health will decline and nothing can get that back. So I think it's a real question of what is the priority?
Because I've got a question for you then, because I was just thinking, I suppose it comes back to that essential question, what is work? Because if work is something that is meaningful and passion filled, is it really work?
Yeah, there's that famous phrase, right? If you're doing what you love, it never feels like work. I'm
Mm,
paraphrasing, but I think
mm,
you've heard that as well. I would agree. I would agree. And again, because I am a recovering workaholic, that's what I kept telling myself. But I love what I do, and I'm working into the late hours of the night, and I'm not seeing my beloved husband, and I'm not spending time with my family. So it's very easy to talk yourself into working all the time. My health started to decline, and that was a key indicator that I was doing too much and not being honest and realistic with myself. So I hear you loud and clearly. You can love your work, but to what end? And the question that I would ask this audience, are you loving your life as much as your work? And that's an individual choice. So I certainly don't want to be prescriptive. If someone prioritizes their work over their life, that is their choice. It was not my choice. And it helped me make a conscious decision about having a balance between work and life.
mm. I think that I know that I have struggled with that in the past, um, where it just feels like I'm working all the time. But I think more recently, probably around COVID time, I think that really made you sort of sit there and think, what is it that I'm doing? And I think for me, putting systems in place was really, really helpful so that I wasn't actually having to manually do everything because I had other stuff that was going on. And also having other people working in the business has really made a huge difference, I think. And I think probably finally as well, for me at least, is working where my energies lie. So I know that I hate routine. um, and because I have so much things going on, whether it's the podcast or the magazine or the speaking or the consulting or the mentoring, it's so when I feel less energized in one particular area, I pick up and do something what makes me more energized in another part of the area. So it doesn't feel like work because I'm maintaining the energy because I'm doing what I love in the right places and the right times. And if that means in the middle of a day I want a nap, then I'll have a nap because maybe I might work Saturday morning because I've got nothing else I'm doing. So do you know what I mean? So I suppose maybe the gift of working for yourself is that you're not restricted to Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. You can work whatever suits you know, your life, whether
Yeah.
that's on Sunday morning or whatever.
Judith, I love that. And I think that's such an important point. I want to reemphasize a couple of things that you said that I agree with you 100%. Asking for help, and that might be other contractors in your business that can do things that will liberate you to do the high level things that only you can do. And I so appreciate you said, find your best time of day. Some people are early morning, some people are night owls. I think this can transfer into organizations as well. And
Mm,
really savvy companies, organizations, and leaders are starting to honor what I call that sweet spot of time. So that is where a hybrid work environment where you're working in a remote location or home sometimes or all the time can liberate you to do your work at your best time. And I believe in 2024, organizations need to be smarter about honoring their employees, excuse me. The truth is, not everybody is at their best during the business day. We need to turn that idea on its head and think about outcomes, not just about butts and seats and the time that you work.
It's a question of what is the actual working day, because I think, and you probably find the same way if you have clients around the world, that the working day for somebody might be your evening. And the question is like, do you adjust what you do, or do you just extend your working day? And I think those that just extend their working day to pick up, say if you're in the UK and you've got somebody in the States and you start at, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning, but you're then finishing at 10 because you've got an American client and that's what you're sustaining yourself with, that's not going to last.
It's not going to last long term. You're exactly right. It might be an option in the beginning, and then there may be a compromise that you can make throughout the rest of your week to accommodate for that. So you do
Exactly, yeah.
have 9 o'clock the next morning, right? Maybe you have an opportunity to start at noon to honor more time for you. And I think that's what it all boils down to, Judith. We need to give ourselves permission to honor what our bodies need. What I find fascinating about the post-COVID journey is that people are anxious, they're depressed, they're burned out, they're exhausted, and they're not honoring what their bodies are screaming at them that they need. And it's different for each person. We need to be more finely attuned to what our bodies need to be high functioning, because we only have one body and we need to honor it so we can be healthy, productive, and happy.
Mm. I agree. I think also for me was recognizing that working asynchronously was okay and in fact beneficial than trying to do everything live.
Yes, good for you.
And I think that's something that can be translated into organizations. Like it might be more useful to have people submit ideas first, gather those before you have a meeting, rather than trying to get everybody together in one place, Zoom or otherwise, for a meeting.
Exactly. That's a brilliant suggestion. And I'll also add, do you always need the meeting? And I don't mean you, Judith, I mean in general. Because goodness, the world is overwhelmed with meetings, and most of them are not efficient. We could probably accomplish the same thing by sharing information via email. So my point is really assess all the meetings. Are they necessary? Are they as long as they need to be? Because I believe often they can be shorter. We often set the hour-long meeting because that's what we've done for decades. And you can accomplish that same agenda perhaps in 30 minutes, which liberates everybody.
Mm. Or you could do the meeting in 30 minutes, keep the hour so that you socialize in that meeting.
Well said. Yes, because that connection is still important. Even if we're remote and virtual, that connectivity makes us feel like we belong. And it also deepens relationships with those that we work with.
Mm. You know what, Caroline, this is such a cool conversation. Before I bring it to a close, though, is there anything that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, thank you, Judith. It's such a pleasure to be with you. You know, the reality is we all have the power to impact positive change for ourselves, but sometimes we get so stuck on what I'll call that proverbial treadmill of life and career that we're going so fast and we just keep going because it almost feels dangerous to jump off the treadmill. So I would encourage everybody listening, start with baby steps. Take 2 or 3 minutes every day. Perhaps write in your journal or even on a post-it note or dictate into your smartphone and think about what you really need. What would your life look like if you said this would make it better? And what do you want to leave in 2023 that you do not want to carry forward in this brilliant new year?
I like that. That's a really important thing, is to think when you're doing your planning is to think, what do I not want to do moving forward?
You got it. Yeah.
Everybody always thinks about what they want to do, which is great, but it just adds to the list. If you're going to do more, you're going to have to stop doing something.
Exactly. I have a simple exercise that I use on myself and also with my clients, and it's called keep, stop, start. And quite often, what you stop can be so brilliant and so invigorating, because you realize, I don't need to keep doing that. It's not efficient. It doesn't move the needle. And it is something that I can let go of. So enjoy that if that's an option.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because quite often you can get burnt out because you're doing something which maybe you loved doing, but you're doing it so much you don't love it anymore. And then when you restrict that, you go back to loving it again.
Exactly. Exactly. And is it really necessary? Some things can truly be let go.
Mm.
Or, as you said, delegate it. Perhaps there's another person that could grow and benefit from that. When we have the courage to say no, it's a yes, it's an opportunity for someone else. And I love that mindset, because setting a boundary can open up a door for somebody else.
Mm. Excellent. Caroline, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, my goodness. It was such a pleasure, Judith. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you out there for tuning into the Maverick Paradox podcast. I am Judith Germain, your host, and I hope you enjoyed today's conversation.
As a leader, you know that having a strong level of influence is essential to achieving your goals. But how do you know if you're truly making an impact? Take the How Influential Are You scorecard to get a clear picture of your current level of influence and identify areas for improvement. With personalised recommendations and valuable strategies, you'll be able to amplify your influence and make a real difference as a leader. Don't miss this opportunity to improve your leadership skills. Take the scorecard now at amplifyyourinfluence.scoreapp.com.